Welcome to the Generating Content Workshop, presented by the Writing Center at Trident Technical College. We hope you will find this presentation helpful as you craft your academic essays. When individuals are engaged in the writing process, they must consider all three necessary components: invention, the creation or gathering of ideas; arrangement, the organization of those thoughts in a logical and cohesive manner; and finally, elocution, the expression of those ideas in appropriate vocabulary and clear sentences. In this workshop, we are going to focus on how to create or gather ideas for writing self-reflection essays, argumentative or research papers, and literary analysis essays. We will also address how to formulate a working thesis to guide the rest of the research and first draft. Before we address the different types of writing assignments you may receive in college, let's dispel one myth: the idea of the perfect first draft. All writers, even the most famous ones, will tell you that writing takes time and revision. So instead of pressuring yourself to come up with a writing topic and to draft a beautiful essay in just one sitting, give yourself some time to think. Brainstorm some ideas of possible topics or subjects for your paper. There are a variety of brainstorming activities you can try, from free writing to mind mapping. In each case, jot your ideas down and then walk away for a few minutes, hours, or even a day. Then, when you review your ideas, see which ones appeal to you. You are going to be spending many hours researching and writing about this topic, so let's make sure it interests you. First, let's look at the personal or self-reflection essay. The purpose of this assignment is to not only introduce yourself and to share a bit about your background, but also to have you think deeply about your actions, decisions, or point of view. As you analyze your life experiences, you are going to begin to identify themes and possibly to relate your experiences to a specific text or reading. So how do we do this? Well, first, let's say that the assignment directions ask you to identify a situation in your past when you had to make a difficult decision. You brainstorm some ideas, and after some thought, decide that some possible topics could be moving to a new city alone, going back to school after working for several years, or purchasing your first car. You realize that the one that sounds the most interesting and the one that you have the most information for is moving to a new city. To begin to generate content for your essay, you will need to engage in an interview with yourself. I know it sounds silly, but you are going to have to ask yourself questions just like a reporter. So, when did you move? Where did you move to? Why did you make the move? How did you get there? Did you rent a U-Haul? Did you have friends or family help you? What was the best part? The worst part? What problems did you encounter? And what solutions did you find? Now that you have all these ideas on paper, begin to look at your responses to the in-depth questions, the ones related to problems or solutions. Do you notice any themes or lessons that you learned? Are there any values or personality characteristics that you demonstrated through your actions? These are ideas that could be the topic of your thesis statement. In the example of moving to a new city, you might notice that although you found the experience to be difficult, you learned how to find the necessary resources you needed, job, friends, that you had to learn to rely on yourself, and that you had to push through, even when you felt lonely or homesick. With this in mind, your thesis might be, through my experiences living alone in a new city, I learned how to be resourceful, determined, and self-reliant. Notice that since this is a self-reflection essay, you might be permitted to use the first person, meaning the word I, in your thesis. Please be sure to check with your instructor about this if you are writing a self-reflection. Here is a possible outline for the personal reflection essay. As you can see, in the introduction, you are going to include all of the background information from your interview with yourself. You will describe the who, what, where, when, how, and why of your move to a new city. You will also include any sensory details, such as what you saw, heard, felt, smelled in that particular situation. Then you will usually end your introduction with your thesis. Here's another type of assignment, the argumentative or research paper. These are often given to students in humanities and social science courses. The purpose of this type of paper is to demonstrate that you have read and understood the basic details of a subject and that you can think critically about those ideas or concepts. You will be expected to assert your own claim on that subject, the thesis, and to provide support for that thesis through evidence that you collect. In order to generate content or to collect ideas about a particular subject or topic, you might begin with research questions that address one or more of the following topics. Definition. What is it? How does it work? Who enforces it? Comparison. How is this topic or subject alike or different from others of its kind? Relationship. Who does this topic affect? What is its impact or significance? Circumstance. What was happening around the time of a particular event or decision? Authority or testimony. Who supports this particular concept or theory? What do the experts say? These questions of invention are very similar to the types of essay questions you have seen on exams or at the end of a chapter in a textbook. They are overarching questions that are used to dig deep into a topic. Let's look at how we could use these questions to research a particular topic. Let's say you are interested in learning more about recycling in Charleston. After reading a few articles in the Post and Courier newspaper, you discover that the city has instituted a ban on single-use plastics. This sounds interesting to you, so you decide to use this as the topic for your research paper. Through a search on the college library databases, you begin to collect resources that answer these questions. What does single-use mean? What items qualify as single-use? These are questions of definition. Then you think about comparison. Which states or towns have applied this same ban? How did it work? What were its effects? Then you begin to think about relationship. How does this ban affect the environment, businesses, or consumers? Then you think about circumstance. What events or decisions prompted the city to develop or implement the ban? Who enforces it? And finally, what do the experts have to say about it? Is there any research that provides evidence that the ban is helping the environment? Are there any groups of people or key voices that have been ignored while implementing the ban? You can see that all of these questions will help you to gather information and to think critically about what you find. Now it's time to develop a thesis for your paper. If we are talking about a new policy or program, you might make a claim about whether it should or should not be instituted. Since the recycling ban is a policy that is already in place, you could create a thesis statement that relates to how it is already affecting groups of people or situations. For example, based on your research, you might assert the following. The City of Charleston's decision to implement a single-use plastic ban positively affected the local economy by encouraging sustainable entrepreneurship and reducing commercial waste. Or you could phrase it this way. The single-use plastic ban instituted by the City of Charleston places undue burdens on the schools, businesses, and residents of economically depressed communities. If you choose the second thesis statement, you might develop an outline that looks like this one. In the introduction, you're going to start with some type of opener or hook to get your reader's attention. Then you will introduce the topic and provide the background information and definitions. You will explain how, when, and why the ban was implemented. Finally, to end your introduction, you will include your thesis. You can see that the body paragraphs will address each one of those burdens that you mentioned in your thesis statement. This will be supported by facts, quotes, and statistics. Your evidence as to how and why these entities are burdened by the ban. Finally, in your concluding paragraph, you might restate your thesis and proofs, or reasons, talk about how or why this issue is significant, and include a call to action or amplification, a statement which explains how or why this particular topic might have implications for a wider audience. No matter what you decide to include, do not introduce new evidence in your conclusion. Finally, let us address the literary analysis paper. The purpose of this assignment is to demonstrate that you have read the text and that you have thought critically about it. Depending upon your instructor's directions, you might be asked to address a specific question, identify literary elements or themes, and/or make a connection between the text and something else, an event, a societal change or trend, another text, or even your own life and experiences. To get started, we return to the 5 common topics of invention. You might ask yourself the following. Who are the main characters in the text? Are they static or dynamic? Are there any interesting supporting characters who offer a different perspective? What is the plot, pivotal moments, and themes? What literary elements are used in the text? If you do not remember the different types of elements, refer to the back of your anthology or class notes. Think about how this text is similar or different from other texts of the same genre. How does the author compare to others? Did this work affect the work of other authors, or did it have an impact on the public when it was published? What was happening in history when this text was written? Here is an example of a short story to help illustrate our point. The text, by Kate Chopin, is entitled The Story of an Hour. In the piece, the main character, Mrs. Mallard, is told that her husband has died in a train accident. After she weeps, she returns to her room. There she sits at the window and thinks about her situation. She whispers, "Free," repeatedly as she thinks about her future. Later, she is called downstairs by her friend. Suddenly, her husband arrives home safely. Upon seeing him, Mrs. Mallard falls to the floor. The doctors say she died of heart disease, of joy that kills. As you read the text, you notice the following themes. The oppressiveness of marriage at that particular time in history, the freedom of independence, and the idea that women were frail. You also notice how Chopin uses the symbols of the heart, the open window, and Mrs. Mallard's gaze to reveal more about the main character. After you research the history and societal trends of the late 1800s, you develop the following thesis. In The Story of an Hour, author Kate Chopin uses the open window as a symbol of the independent lifestyle and opportunities not available to women in the late 1800s. This outline could be used to organize the information you collected for the literary analysis. Notice how the background information and brief summary of the story are included in the introductory paragraph. The body paragraphs do not retell the story. Rather, they focus on the evidence that you have found in the text or outside sources to support your thesis statement. You can see in paragraph 2, we're talking about the independent lifestyle. In paragraph 3, we're talking about missed opportunities. In conclusion, you might explain how this particular text or author influenced their contemporaries or the broader society. Once your thesis is set and you have your outline organized, it is time to begin your first draft of your paper. Be sure to incorporate summaries, paraphrases, and quotes of your evidence and explain them in your own words. Include in-text citations and a works cited page. When you are finished, go back and read through your entire draft to be sure that your body paragraphs support the claim or stance you made in your thesis. Remember, you are always welcome to reach out to the tutors at the Writing Center for help at any stage in the writing process. The Writing Center at Trident Technical College is available for all students free of charge. You may stop by for in-person tutoring during our office hours, or you may reach us online through our Talk Chat feature or email. Consult our webpage for our hours of operation and links to helpful handouts. Please know that our mission is to help you become a confident, skilled writer. Thank you for taking the time to watch this workshop.